What's up, everybody? Welcome to Late Night with Gray. How is everybody doing out there tonight? Glad to see some of you folks in there chit-chat, and let me back up this chat and say what's up to a few folks before we bring on our guest. Hopefully you guys are excited as I am. All right, Yarn Prepper in the house. Was always good to see you, JT. How are we doing tonight, JT? Doing well? Enjoying that Florida weather that we're having? Kelly, consider the ant. Let me scroll through here. Minuteman69, a.k.a. Dennis Nixon, is in the house. Zombie Prepper, good to see you, brother. Angela Pissareno, how are we doing? Scarzo219, Zombie Prepper, what is up? I probably said zombie twice because, I just like the name. Colleen Rich, Arc Wildman Survival, good to see you, brother. And I'm trying to catch up past this chat here. Let's go through this. These names are very... Oh, you guys had a hell of a conversation, eh? All right, Donna the Divine Prepping, what is up? Good to see you. Jeff is in the house. You enjoying the weather too, Jeff? I know you're just around the corner from me. Terry D. And I showed it on his Christmas live. I have no idea what you guys are talking about. We'll pick up on that. Terry, did I say what's up to you already? Rena LaRue. Jan is in the house. I got the Alaska Prepper Trio in the house. The trifecta of mods. I'm surprised Harvey is not here yet. Harvey is missing. Let me see here. Milo on the ready. Chief Prepper. Good to see you, brother. And Prepper for Life. What's up? How you doing? Let me see. I almost said that. You almost got me. Let me see. Minuteman69. Where's the donuts? Right? You guys. Hope you guys have coffee. That's one thing you guys gotta have. You gotta have coffee. I got my new mug to show off. You know what I mean? Jackie Perez. What is up? Let me see. Kelly is back. Aaron Goodman. Lori. Let me see. Sherry Leach. The chat just jumped on me because it's going crazy now. Bell Prepper 1970, Ms. Me, I'm Deviant, Mr. Ed, I like that name. Sue S, Jame at the Nut House, Texas T, Mag Rising, Bonnie Swenson. I'm getting through them now. Sue S, James Davis. I'm trying to scroll as fast as I can, folks. I know you guys are anticipating my guests. Empress Kimberly, good to see you. Let me see. DB, hello from the Bay Area, California. Diabetic Prepper, Sonia. Joyce, Southernmost Illinois. Sharon Stock. Rhonda, Dr. D, and I think I finally caught up to everybody. Arkansas Prepper Network just came across that one. What's up, brother? Hey, we hit 10K, man. We hit 10K. And Muzzle Flash is in the house. Good to see you, Muzzle. Long time no speak. Hope you're doing well, brother. All right. Northern Girl Hobbies is in the house as well. Shadow Scout Sweet all the way from Sweden. Man, we got some great folks in here. Not my home. It would help if I unmute. Right on. All right, Harvey Black has popped in as well. Let me see here. I think that's it. Don't you know, Susan Peters. And if I keep on doing this, we won't have a show tonight. So let me bring up my guests. First of all, let me say thank you all for being here. I know it's a little late. Garden, Coy, Janine from Southwest Florida, another Floridian. But let me bring up my guests. Good to see you. Thanks, Muzzle. I appreciate that as well. Without further ado, let me bring up Frontier Preppers. Some of you folks may know Billy Dee, but you're about to know them tonight. What is up, guys?
Good evening, everybody. And I say good evening because it's only 6:30 for me.
Yeah, it's like supper time for you guys, man.
Yeah.
The Alaska life, man. Ozark NFO, what is up? I'm going to try to keep an eye on you folks over there. But so Billy and Dee, if you guys want to kind of give these folks a little bit, some folks may know you. Some folks may not. If you want to give them a little detail about yourself, and we'll move on from there.
Absolutely. I'm Billy.
I'm Dee.
And we created the Frontier Preppers mainly as a channel to empower people. At the beginning, we talked about a lot of moving to Alaska and the challenge that we face moving to Alaska. And later on, when we touch all the topics, well, we decided to start sharing our Cuban experience and the similarities that we see with nowadays and what I experienced back in the island. So basically, we want to pass on a true history that we have lived already to those of you who hasn't, and at least to try to open people's eyes of what is going on nowadays. So that is pretty much.
No, I think that's awesome. It's crazy to know that you guys started where I'm at. Well, Billy, you came from Cuba, and we're going to get into that whole ball game. But you guys kind of started in Florida, and then went all the way to Alaska, which is quite interesting. You went from the suburbs, right? Suburbs of Florida, roughly,
Mm-hmm.
and then right into the Alaskan frontier, man. That's a big change. Tell me a little bit of story, like how'd that come to be, and like what drew you from Florida to Alaska? Like how was that experience and that whole like time change and weather change and all that fun stuff?
Oh, that was a story. Um, I came to the U.S. In 1996. I was 16 years old. Met Mrs. D. 25.
You were 25.
I was 25. I was a youngster back then, and as we, our marriage and whatnot, we decided to have kids. Well, one thing led to the other, and it took us 7 years to get last. And
The idea of Alaska started with
it
Billy.
started.
I
with
don't know
that.
where it came from for him. I think it was the just the wildness here, the fishing, the hunting, the kind of the lifestyle that he yearned for
Yeah.
from Cuba that he didn't have in Florida. But it started with him, and it took years of convincing me to even think about it. And years of research, just looking into everything of how we could make it happen, if we could make it happen, what the finances would look like, what the financially, what the move itself would look like. So yeah, it took many, many years, but it was what,
Almost 7 years, the same
Yeah.
amount of time that it took us to actually have last.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
when the funny story is, and when Last was born, I told D, we just gonna wait a little bit until get a little older,
Yeah.
and we gone. I can't stand so many people anymore. Florida was getting too overpopulated. They never stopped building, and we were like, you know what, this is it. I'm gonna do my research, and I spent
Yeah.
a good 7 years doing research before we actually moved here. And the funny thing is, we moved here in the middle of winter.
And
Wow.
I was talking about it this morning at the dentist appointment I was telling you about. And we moved here sight unseen. We'd never visited before. We never vacationed here before. And I looked at him at one point and said, "You know what? We're unhappy with where we're at, and it's been years of talking about this. Let's finally make it happen." And I said, "Whoever gets a job first, then we'll go." And so I applied for a job and just so happened to get it. Um, but yeah, it was sight unseen, just pure faith that it was the right thing to do. If it was meant to be, it was going to happen, and things would line up, and that's how it happened.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome, man. It's pretty because I pondered it myself, man. I've looked into stuff like just in general. I watch a lot of Discovery Channel, and they focus a lot on Alaska. You know what I mean? You see Alaskan Bush people, you see Alaska, the last frontier, and I've watched documentaries on it, man. And it's just like it looks beautiful, and it's sparse. You know what I mean? Population density and whatnot. It's a way to get away from people. But trying to get the old lady on board, or I shouldn't say old lady, she'll kill me because I'm way older than her. Um, but she, she's like, I just don't know. And then she'll freak out. She's like, what about the darkness? It's going to be dark for like 30 days. Didn't you see that movie 30 Days of Dark or something like that? I'm like, there's no vampires in Alaska.
It's not as bad as people say,
Yeah,
and
that's what I was
people
gonna
think.
say.
We didn't get a lot of support to begin with when we decided that we actually were going to move. In fact, I remember
people thought we were crazy.
people thought that we were crazy. We were like, "You guys are moving to an igloo? What's wrong with y'all?"
I was gonna say, people think it's ice, all year round here, just nothing, and not like it is in reality, where it's really more nature than anything else. But the dark is worst maybe in December, January, for a little bit, like you said, like a month. But we still get light. It's not like we get full darkness or anything like that. So it's not super bad.
Yeah, and during that time, the moon is so bright and shines so much.
Yeah.
You got that reflection of the moon on the snow. That you pretty much are like, okay, so is it daylight or is it nighttime? Which one is it?
Yeah. At least where we're at, there is always some level of light. It's not full darkness.
Yeah.
That's nice, and I bet you can see the stars a lot better than you can in the cities. You know what I mean? It's probably like a whole different ball game with that.
Oh gosh, we can see
It's
the
amazing.
stars,
The aurora.
the auroras. We see the auroras. In fact, when we went camping about a month ago. we got up in the middle of the night. It was 2 o'clock at night. And we looked up and we were like, oh my God, so beautiful. It was so bright. You can see the Big Dipper, all those beautiful stars you can't see nowhere else. So that is, yeah. That's
and
awesome.
it's funny because you're driving through different parts of the state and you'll feel like you're in a different state in different areas of Alaska. So it's so cool.
Well, and also you guys got you guys kind of got to step up. You you got a nice neighbor from what I hear, you know what I mean? That kind of gives you a little visit every once in a while.
Yep. For sure. Good people.
Yep. In fact, Rudy, Mr. Alaska Prepper, and those of you who don't know Rudy, I encourage you to go check him out. A great guy, awesome person. We know him on the personal basis. So he is the only person that we actually allow him and his family, of course, to visit our house.
His family are really cool.
Otherwise, we always keep that distance between people and us. Not because we just don't like people, but people might have different intentions, if you know what I mean.
That I do, my friend. I tell you that. One thing I do that I've kind of learned about you, over us talking and stuff like that. And yeah, Jen, the aurora should be good this weekend. There is an X1 solar flare that posted up. I know some of you guys are probably wondering about that. And yes, I'm keeping an eye on it. And if anything goes crazy, we'll find out. It's supposed to pop off Halloween for anybody who wants to know. Halloween is supposed to hit the earth.
Okay.
What's up, Pony Girl? And yeah, Rudy does stop by for a cafecito from now and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Milo, they Rudy is literally their neighbor. You know what I mean? So he actually goes to visit them outside of me wishing I can hang out with Rudy for a bit in the bunker and whatnot.
Yeah.
So let me ask you: you guys do you guys have at least on an acre or so, on your land? What's the size?
We have 2.5 acres here.
Okay.
Lots in Alaska are fairly big. Depending on the zoning that you are, it defines how much land you have. In our zone, it can be as minimum as 1 acre, but we like land, and 2.5. I still think it's a little.
Most lots where we're at are 2.5 minimum. If you're in the city, it's far less. It's like an acre or even less than that. But where we're at, it's usually 2.5.
Yeah, I still knock on my neighbor's door. If you ever want to sell, do come to me first.
That's great. He's the silver guy. You're right. Rudy is the silver guy. And Jan, you're exactly right. It probably will affect satellite feeds and radio communication in an upper atmosphere. So that being said, I know you're somewhat of an avid hunter, right, Billy?
Yes, I have been hunting since Cuba, although in Cuba is illegal to hunt, believe it or not. But who cares? You got to do what you got to do.
Right.
Very little.
I can only imagine. Have you been hunting in Alaska so far since you've been up there?
We have been hunting. Unfortunately, this year we haven't been successful. A rule of thumb.
A lot of people were successful this year.
Yeah, a lot of people were unsuccessful. Rule of thumb, and I told everybody, is that hunting, you get 1 out of 10. So for 10 times you go, you might be successful once. So you got to put in a lot of work. Last year, actually, we harvested moose. Mrs. D was the one who shot the moose.
Nice.
Yeah. So we had a great time. No caribou. Last year, this year, no caribou as yet. But we do have the stamps or the tickets.
Okay.
So we can do the harvest tickets.
Everything here is through harvest ticket for the most part.
For the most part, yeah. And then we plan to do some winter hunting. I don't know how I'm going to drag her.
He plans to do winter hunting. I will go begrudgingly.
Yeah.
Now, to reverse gears a little bit, since you lived in Florida for quite some time, did you deal with any hurricanes down here?
All the time. All the time.
How different is it prepping for hurricanes and then prepping for, let's say, a blizzard and ice storms and stuff like that?
We don't get ice storms up here. Or at least we haven't since we've been here. Nothing.
We get really cold temperatures.
Okay.
And dumps of snow. The most that we got one time was 13 inches
overnight,
in one night.
Yeah, overnight so far.
So when that happens, you can't leave.
You're at a standstill. you're stuck in your house pretty much. If
Yeah.
you can't shovel your driveway of the snow, you're stuck. So it's make sure what you have in your house, what you need, or especially in your vehicles, what you need. They always say to have your prep kits in your vehicles, for if you get stuck anywhere.
Yeah. In Florida, it was, well, we always had, funny thing is, half of our house on the back, what was it? A room and a laundry room.
Yeah. Like
back there, we had the prepper pantry, the reloading room, all that good stuff. Generators in the shed, and everything was ready. I mean, our life was in Florida at the time, so our house was pretty much hurricane proof. Close the shutters on.
That's one thing we don't have to worry about here is the shutters. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, turn on the generator when everybody was suffering because they didn't have electricity. We had the AC on, and our stove, water heater, and even furnace was gas, was propane. So we didn't worry about none of that. So we were pretty prepared. In fact, people still eating some of the preps that we left behind.
Yeah, we had a whole bunch of rice and beans dry canned up that we couldn't bring with us. Obviously, we gave it to my parents, and they're still eating from that.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome, man. I get gas myself. I got a 100-pound tank on the side of the house. It's rare for a lot of houses, at least in certain areas, because a lot of the new places they build don't run gas. You know what I mean? I'm in an older part of the town that I live in, and this place is the only thing the gas goes to is the oven. I used to go to the hot water heater, but I didn't like the way that was set up, so I switched it up a little bit. But so it'll last quite some time, and it's nice during hurricanes to have that gas backup. I give it that. And then with Rudy gave me an idea a while back, so I got me a new generator this year, and it's a multi-fuel where I can run either propane or gasoline through it, just as a, you got to have fallbacks in case something fails. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we had a Champion generator that I actually did the propane kit. I installed the propane kit myself back in Florida. And here, Rudy and I, we had the same generator, the double fuel one, the tri-fuel. Yeah.
I forget what the brand is. Furman?
Furman, I think it is.
The Costco Furman, that's what I call that one. The Costco Furman tri-fuel.
That's the one.
And Carmen, I see that you have put in all caps, so I'm going to go ahead and throw that question out there because it just popped right there. It says, if you guys get snowed in, how do you go to work? Are you able to work from home?
We don't go to work.
Before 2020, we wouldn't go to work. You'd miss the day of work. Depending on how bad, if it was a really, really bad snowstorm, maybe they would close this, your job or whatever. Most of the time, sometimes for me at least, they never closed. They very rarely close here, even the schools for the kids. But now, remote work is possible for both of us. So now you're stuck with remote work, even if you don't want to.
But because I don't bring the work computer home, because I don't like bringing work to home. If we get a storm like that, I got a lot of time off.
And people understand it. I've told my bosses before, I don't feel comfortable driving in it. I'm snowed in or whatever the case may be, if they haven't cleared the roads yet, and they're very understanding about it. So it's not a big deal. Yeah,
the one thing to know, at least here, we don't live in town. We live outside town. 15, 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, right?
Yeah, like 20 minutes.
Like 20 minutes away from town. Meaning that we have a lot of miles that need to be clear before we can actually get to our job.
Well, yeah, and the way they do it here is that the main road, which is one road, unfortunately, is the one that gets cleared first. And then so all the other side roads are after that. So it will take them a while to get out here to us where we're at. But yeah, everybody understands it. They're good with it. You can't come. Okay, you can't come. We understand that. That's the scenario that you're looking at.
They also understand that if you have mooses in your driveway, you can't do anything. You might be late to work.
Yeah.
Hey, it happens.
One of the first things my boss said when we moved here, my first boss, he said to me, that is a viable excuse to not come to work or to be late to work, that there's moose in your driveway. So.
That is pretty awesome. I was thinking of something because you had mentioned something not too long ago. Because I always ask these people that live in more rural areas, especially where it snows a lot. if you get stuck in the snow and someone doesn't come by for several hours, or if there's a blizzard and you happen to get caught in that situation, like a whiteout or whatnot. I'm assuming you guys haven't come across that yet, but I've saw other channels, throughout the YouTube verse talk about that. You got to have certain things in your vehicle to stay warm, and maybe some blankets, maybe some hand warmers, extra gasoline, things like that. Do you guys have your vehicle prepped up with some add-ons?
We do. That's what we call a winter kit. Is ours in our truck, even during summer. What we have there is freeze-dried food ready to.
Yeah, it is along the River Homestead. It's from Florida, Alaska. That is a huge change. That's why I think it's quite intriguing. And being that I'm in Florida, you know what I mean? Uh-oh. I had no idea that they froze. Mona, I don't think I'd be able to leave Florida for Alaska. Billy, if you can hear me, you can always back out and then jump back in if you have internet issues. Yeah, I know he froze. I don't ever know until I look over to the screen. In the meantime, do you guys like my new coffee mug? So Lady Grey, she wants me to be this for Halloween, so she got me the coffee mug to match. Kind of freaky, eh? I'll give them a few minutes. If you guys have experienced people in Alaska have issues with their internet because of the type of internet that it is. So thank you, Mona. That being said, while I have you folks in here, and we'll wait for Billy and Dee to come pop back in. Should give him a few minutes. I'll see him down there. What was it? They froze because it's freezing, right on Terry D. Scarecrow, yeah. There's your sign, Alaska living. Exactly, Granny Goose. That mug holds enough coffee for you. Yeah, it kind of. I could use a bigger one. One of these days I'm gonna freak you out, D14. I have this mug that is just massive, and it'll be pretty funny to watch. All right, they're starting to load up. And folks, don't forget, next Thursday, huge, massive. We're doing the 10K giveaway and the Super Chat of the Month giveaway all on the same day, November 4th, if I recall that correctly. All right, here we go. The internet is back up. They did not freeze to death, folks.
Sorry, everybody. When you live in a rural area, this is what happened. Yeah. Your internet goes out.
Bad internet.
So I don't know what was the last thing you guys heard, but as I was saying, we do have winter kits in our cars. We do freeze dry food in our car, just ready in case that we get stuck. Little propane canisters. I did have one of those questions last year, whether or not those will freeze in -20 and -30. And I did an experiment, and actually they work. So we do have a little stove and whatnot in our cars. Hand warmers. We do have hand warmers. We don't have wool blankets. What we do have is the other one, the space blankets, the foil ones.
The emergency. Gotcha.
Yeah. The reason behind that one is because if we have to make a shelter, that will be good for it as well.
Right, to reflect that heat back on you.
Yeah, extra winter clothes, socks, and underclothes and things like that.
Layers. That's what they say. You got to have layers. And I saw something in here, Julie. Where are you at, Julie? Grey, the sun is shooting stuff down on us today, maybe right now. Julie, that will be happening Halloween. So maybe the grid will go out, Julie, on Halloween, and we will all start a crap hits the fan scenario. But I don't think so, but it would be quite intriguing for it to happen on Halloween, because that would be quite ironic. You know what I mean? So that being said, where are we at? We're about 25 minutes in, because I want to have you tell a little bit of story about your life in Cuba, because a lot of people don't understand, and we're not going to try to get political, folks, but we want to talk a little bit about how, if you're in Cuba and the way the government is there, and how America is looked upon, and how some people see what's happening in America can relate to pre-Castro, if that makes any sense to some of the folks out there. So if you can enlighten us a little bit, Billy, on that, I'm really curious, because I really enjoyed that live stream you had, man, and about some of the stories that you told,
Yeah, pre-Castro, what I hear from my grandparents is Cuba was a paradise. It was the pearl of the Caribbean. That's what they refer to as how Cuba was. Castro came in with the ideas of everybody has to be equal. Everybody have to have the same. That sounds very familiar what we see in nowadays. Um, it came in, and immediately after, well, start taking from the rich to get to the poor. Sounds very familiar to what we see nowadays. Funny thing is that, well, once he took from the rich, it was never given to the poor. The government kept it. What the government does in Cuba, especially for land, uh, it gives it to the people so they can actually work it. And if you don't work the land, well, you need to get out that land. I don't care how long you have been there, you will be removed, and some other family will be put in there so they can actually work the land. Um, your house is never yours. There's no taxes, but your house is never yours. Your house is property of the government. Say, for example, if your house is in a prime real estate area in one of the cities and they want to do a baseball stadium, well, guess what? You're going to have a government official knocking on your door and say, I'm going to use a name, Pedro, your house is being deemed, you need to move because we're going to build a stadium here for the benefit of the people. Because I don't care whether or not you build it with your own two hands or you want to pass it on to your kids. That's not my problem. So Pedro and his family will have to be relocated to a building with other 50 families with no privacy, no nothing, and he has no saying. Well, Pedro can do two things: either take the apartment that he is going to be given to him, or Pedro can live in the streets. Pedro cannot say anything because if Pedro does say something, Pedro ends in jail. So basically, over there,
jail or disappear.
That's a scary thought. Arkansas, thank you for that super chat. Truly appreciate the support, brother.
So when it comes to your kids and schools and whatnot, you also have no saying. You have to send your kids to school. If you don't send your kid to school, well, you're going to have a government official knocking on your door. Why is your kid not at school? Well, he was sick. Where's the doctor's note? Well, I don't have it. Your kid better be tomorrow at school or I'm going to be here. And you will be going to the police station with me. So they're watching you all the time. In fact, there is something called CDR. Well, I can't remember what it stands for.
I have to Google it. I don't know.
Something. This is what they do. In every block, there is a group of people or one family in particular. There's actually watching everybody else and reporting what everybody's doing to the police. So if you get out of line, or if you say something that you don't agree with the government, well, guess what? You're gonna get that knock in the middle of the night, and you're gonna be dragged out of your house, whether you like it or not. And your family cannot do anything because there's no means for them to defend themselves. The first thing that Castro did was collect all the boomsticks from everybody, all of them. So my family has some a stack away, but that was jail time if we ever got caught. So the other thing over there is you really don't have a business. Sometimes you are giving license to have a business per se, but if you're making too much money, what the government does is they come around and they're like, well, this is not conducive of other people. So we're going to take your business and we're now going to manage your business because I don't like your prices. So they take your business away and you have nothing to say. In fact,
that's just horrible, man. And Terry, thank you so much for the super sticker. Truly appreciate the support.
So the fact of the matter is that you have no saying over your own body over there. You have no political views because there's just one party. There are elections, believe it or not, but they're rigged. It's funny. I remember my auntie one time saying, "Why am I supposed to go vote for what? They're gonna put whoever they want in there."
What's the point? Yeah.
And that is a fact. So nobody actually votes in Cuba. There's no point. I mean, Fidel was there until he died. His brother, he released power to whoever this puppet is, but they're still following the same mentality.
It's a disaster.
It is a disaster. And the funny thing is that people there are the ones paying the price. People have no food because they only can get what the government gives them. If you have a little piece of land that you have your little garden, you have to watch that garden like it was gold because people are hungry too. So what people would do is the moment that you fall asleep, they're going to go to your garden and take everything.
Mhm.
If you have a chicken, the chicken needs to sleep inside your house because it's going to be stolen because everybody's hungry. And after 60 years, well, guess what? That's 6 generations living in that state of mind all the time. So imagine when I came over in 1996 and I saw all of this wonder, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. And as years were passing, and I heard about this old SHTF, and I was like, wait a second, that's what I lived for 16 years, and I didn't know that I was living in it. So
Yeah, I was gonna say you've been living it for quite some time. And someone real quick, and a lot of people have popped in the chat. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Is where was it at? I want to go back to make sure I say it properly. It says, "Do you see the same thing starting to happen like that here in this country?
yes,
Any similarities?"
yes, absolutely. If you listen to what I previously said, the whole mentality of taking from the rich to get to the poor, that's a sell point that the Communist Party actually has all the time. It's a very palatable way to convince people because when people are desperate, that's what they want. They wanted something. They don't care where they come from, but they just want something. When you see the printing of money all the time, that's what happened in Cuba. In Cuba, actually, the peso actually collapsed in 1994 when they actually freed the dollar to go in circulation in the state and in the country. I'm sorry, the peso collapsed. $1 was the equivalent of 140 pesos at the time. A doctor gets paid 400 pesos a month. So imagine, and that's a doctor.
That's nuts. So it's
Yeah,
almost like everybody makes the same, no matter what you're doing.
it, people when people follow a career in Cuba, it's because they actually love the profession. A doctor is a doctor because he or she loves to save people, not because of money. There really is no money involved. So
That's insane. Now, I always had a question. Did you have access to precious metals and stuff like that that you could kind of stash away? I know it's probably not. I don't know if you're allowed to have it or not over there.
well, the funny thing is, my grandpa had the forethought of putting money on the ground. Um, what they did is they put gold and silver in coins because my grandpa never believed in banks. And what they did is they made a hole on the ground and they put it on the ground. I can't remember where's that thing called tinaja,
Oh, I don't know how you say it in English.
a clay pot. They put it inside a clay pot and they put and he dug a
Mhm.
hole and put it inside. Now for some reason, and I don't know why, they also put pearls in there. I don't know why they put pearls. The pearls is still under in my family.
Hmm.
I think my grandma she's
But
like
you
pearls.
can't legally have silver and gold. It's all black market.
It is all
Right.
black market. In 1992, they opened what they call La Casa del Oro y la Plata, which is the house of the gold and silver. The government actually opened to the public, said, if you had gold and silver in your possession, we're going to give you this voucher and you can come to this store and buy things with this voucher. But I want the gold and silver that you have because a lot of people they hold on to gold and silver, but mainly what we do is black market. Somebody who's coming over to the U.S. and a tourist. most likely. And that tourist goes there. Hey, do you have any gold? Do you know anybody who has gold? And that tourist will actually buy it from you, and then you get that money. Or Canadians. Canadians did that a lot too.
A lot of you guys, folks, I do apologize for the dogs. Lady Grey came home with Little Miss Grey, and they're acting a fool, even though this is supposed to be a $250 mic that's supposed to like get rid of all that, but it does not. So I do apologize that, and I did feed them, unfortunately. Now they're being bad dogs. Oh man, and they're like 2 rooms away. I got doors closed and everything, but you can still hear them. You know, I was thinking of something when you said that, because here, the inception of Fort Knox, when Fort Knox was built, and I don't know all the dates and stuff. Rudy's probably like spot on with it. They'd asked the country itself to get out of the Great Depression. They asked, "Hey, we need all the gold," and they were bringing it in on trains and stuff like that, loading up Fort Knox. Now, there's a lot of conspiracies with Fort Knox. Some people think there's no gold there anymore. It's all been plundered away. No problem, RK. Thank you. And so it's funny that you say that, you know, that the government said, well, we need all this. And it's kind of funny that it's happened here in the U.S. at one point where they did ask for all the gold to be turned in to get us out of the Great Depression. There's more to that. Don't quote me on everything. I'm not a historian, but it's happened here in the U.S. and it can happen again. So that being said, man, it's like people talk about all the times, like, you probably didn't see like what you would see here now. Like everybody, we always talk about food shortages here, you know what I mean? And all kinds of different issues that were transpiring here in the U.S. Over there, you probably didn't see it as much because you got ration food, from my understanding, right? You had this, you're allowed this much rice or this much bread, and this is what you get. And if you eat it all, then you're screwed, kind of thing, right?
Pretty much. The government would give you X amount of pounds of rice per month, per person. When I was there, I think, and I can be wrong, but I think it was 5 eggs per person per month. Beef, it was very rare for you to get beef. That's why we took it upon ourselves to remove a lot of cattle from government farms. I played the fifth on that one. We ate what we could. I made a joke one time about kitties and whatnot, and I'm not going to say, because, you know, pets are pets, and we all love our pets. But when you're hungry, and those of you who have been hungry, whatever they put in front of you, you will eat it. So people in Cuba are not very picky when it comes to food. They eat whatever they put in front of them. If you have a plate of rice and beans, just rice and beans, you're happy because you go into bed with a full belly.
Right.
Many times we have money because, well, we had the money, but there was nothing that money will buy because there was nothing to buy. And, you know, I saw my grandparents, my grandma cry. What can we do? And my grandpa was like, well, there's nothing we can do. We went to the rivers. We tried to fish as much as we could. But that is also controlled by the government. The government controls everything. Nonetheless, we still did it, and we find a way to bribe the government officials. They were actually taking care that lake, if you will, and they were actually selling us the fish, so we can actually sell the fish in the black market afterwards. Therefore, we got fish for consumption, and we got fish to sell to other people. So the one thing that I want everybody to understand is in the communist regime, you can bribe anybody. Everybody has a price. And that is very unfortunate because a lot of people lose pride and they don't have a lot of convictions because, well, when you're hungry, that pride goes off the window real fast unless you're willing to you know, just go hungry forever.
And that's something to think about too as a prepper is are you prepared for that? You know, to be in that mindset to have to deal with that and where are your convictions at, and how long will you stand strong in your convictions facing hunger? So yeah, that's something to consider.
One funny story is, and I can tell you, I met my dad when I was 15 years old. Well, 3 months old. My mom took me to jail to meet my dad.
Wow.
And you know why my father got in prison? For killing horses so he can feed the family.
Mm.
So I met my dad when I was 15 because my dad was never allowed to go back to Cuba, and they gave him 20 years in jail.
Mm.
So in the 80s, and I was born in 1980, soon after I was born, without him saying, yeah, sure, I want to go to the US, they grab him, put him in a boat, you're out.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can attest to that, brother. My grandfather, he even told me that the little lizards that they had, they would cook, they would stick to these lizards and eat and bake cook these lizards on the fire and stuff like that. He was telling me all kinds of stories. God bless his soul. And some of the struggles that they went through over there. And then my uncle got caught off. He wasn't supposed to be in Cuban waters, and he got caught in Cuban waters, even though he was in America already. Got in prison, spent 7 years old. He went in when he was like 28. When he came back, he looked like a 70-year-old man.
Yeah. Yeah. Prisons in Cuba are not like here. If you go to, I taught in a prison, and the way the prisoners are here is like a hotel.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like a hotel. Wear meals a day.
Over there, you get a beating in the morning, a beating in the afternoon, a beating just because you are alive, and you may get a little bit of rice full of worms, and you eat everything, and dirty water. Yeah.
Wow. I've been pausing the screen. I saw two questions pop up, and I don't know if Arkansas Prepper Network, if you're responding to me or the guest. It says, how do you respond when people say you can't eat gold? Diversify.
Well, I can answer that very well. I can't eat gold, but I sure can buy a lot of food with it.
Right.
And that's exactly what we did. The coins, and I remember my grandpa cutting some of the last gold coins. He would put it in one of those steel things to make steel to work the steel, and he will get a machete and put it on top, and with a hammer just cut it in little pieces to get pieces of gold, and they will weight that gold, and people will buy it. We will get, I don't know, $30, $40, $50, whatever it was, enough to get food. So yeah, you can eat gold, but you sure can buy food with it.
You can barter with it. That's the other thing is, it's not just paper money, but silver and gold and other barter items, Salt can be a barter item. There's so many things that you can use as currency.
Yeah.
So,
gold and silver is money anywhere in the world. So that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I was going to add to it is when it comes to silver and gold, if the U.S. dollar collapsed on itself and it was worth literally nothing, every other place in the world still values silver and gold or precious metals in general. So there's a trade commodity there, no matter how you look at it. And someone says, well, what if the world collapsed on itself? Well, eventually things will what's it called, fix themselves. And there will be a reoccurring market. And of course, as we know through the dawn of time, silver and gold have been always traded as a monetary thing. People will trade it for food, for land, and so on and so forth. So just to kind of touch on that, I did see this is the other Arkansas had asked about how the black market worked.
The black market in Cuba worked mouth to mouth. It's not like in the movies that you see the troll market and people go in loaded with guns and things like that. That's not the way it is. Take for example, you need sugar. Well, you tell somebody, some of your friends, hey, I need sugar, and I have a pound of rice. I'm willing to trade. So that friend of yours, we'll be asking around and whatnot, because that's what you do. And the funny thing is, when everybody is hungry, everybody wants to help each other. Don't ask me why. It just happens. The sense of community is bigger.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like everybody is friend or family at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I know such and such down the road,
Yeah.
such and such's brother or such and such's cousin.
Now, of course, that person who makes the deal happen gets a little bit of something. You know how it is. You gotta throw some bone in there. But that's usually the way it works, mouth to mouth. It's not a free market or a flea market, if you will, that you go there and everybody's selling it 10 ounces of gold for this. No, it's mouth to mouth.
And it's very hush hush too, because like Billy was saying, you have the chivatos on every corner, ready to snitch out to the police.
And there are a
It's very
lot
hush hush.
of snitches. And the reason why there's a lot of snitches is because they get extra stuff. When they snitch on you, sometimes even family members, well, they get little perks, and they might get an extra pound of rice. So the police station give them incentive to go there and snitch on you. So they have to deal with a lot of consequences too. And again, I'm going to play the fifth on this one, but sometimes snitches get stitches. So that happened a lot.
Yeah, and I'm saying, Milo, I was going to touch on that. I think I saw someone else answer that for you. I think, was it Carmen or Jack? I think it was Jackie. In the 80s, Fidel Castro, he dumped the prisons. He took all the prisons and sent everybody to the U.S. And that they were all pushed into Miami. He basically, a lot of good people and bad people came at that time. And yes, it was based Scarface, the movie Scarface, that was based out of Miami. If you guys have ever seen that or ever heard of that movie, if you're as old as I am, I probably watched it a dozen times because I was young. There's some truth to that. You know what I mean? And that's how a lot of folks came over there.
Yeah.
And I saw something else pop up where there are a lot of illegal to import American goods in the black market. I don't know if he meant like in your black market, was there American goods in there that was like tradable or whatnot? You can see here. Is living in Cuba like living in the U.S. during the Great Depression? It sounded like it.
Here's the thing. At the time, I didn't know any better because I was born in there.
That was your normal.
That was my normal.
Right.
When I came over, then I saw the difference. I don't know how the Great Depression was because I didn't live through it. But what I can tell you is that living in Cuba gives you a different perspective of how you value your freedoms. That is one thing that I tell everybody. You don't know what freedom is unless you never had it or you lost it.
Right.
So,
yeah, and you were saying the movie Scarface. My dad, actually, that's how he came to the States. He was a Marilito. He is a Marilito. So when I watch that movie, it resonates with me because I'm like, okay, that's what it was. They did go and have to live under a bridge in camps and in the middle of Miami.
Yeah.
And kind of figure it out and survive. So yeah, it's
a lot of my family talked about that because they had some family members over there. Because some people, when that was going down, they kind of jumped involved to kind of get away from Cuba. You know what I mean? And it was dangerous. It wasn't like they were on these great, beautiful ships. You know what I mean?
No.
Coming over. You know what I mean? It wasn't like that. It was a lot worse. A lot of people died.
Yeah.
My dad, well, he told me, he was like, well, first of all, they gave me a beating before they put me on the boat. And from the time that they put me in the boat to the time that I got to Cayo Hueso, I was throwing up all the way into I got there. And there were 80 people on that boat that he was like, I don't know how we made it. I just don't know. So
that's intriguing. Cayo Hueso, for you folks who don't know what that means, it means Key West, and that's where I was born. With me and my family. A lot of you folks do know that I'm Cuban. I would assume so. Cuban American, as they like to call it, because I wasn't born in Cuba, but a lot of my family came over from there, and seek the better life over here in the U.S. Terry did have a good question, and because I know I grew up Roman Catholic, and then of course I got into Christianity and stuff like that because that's how my grandmother was. But she's asking, are you allowed to practice religion or attend church in Cuba?
Yes and no. The government does not allow for you to practice any religion openly. There are Catholic churches in Cuba, basically because people will say, I don't care what you say, you will not take my religious belief. The government all the time wants to close those churches. They don't provide money to the churches. In fact, the churches are maintained by the donations of the poor, the Cuban people. And
Oh, I was waiting for it, and I was looking at the chat, and then I guess they froze. And if you guys have been watching us, they'll freeze from time to time because they're in Alaska. It's a very rural area, and it happens, but they'll be back in due time. And I saw Roland. Let me see. Where are you at, Roland Raquel? I just saw you in here. Roland with Raquel. During this live stream so far, we've talked about their life in general, from moving from Florida to Alaska and starting a homestead in Alaska, that journey. And currently we're in conversation of Billy was born in Cuba and left when he was 16 years old. He's telling us about how life was in Cuba and how some of the eerie similarities of the way the government in Cuba is run, how it relates to what's happening here in the U.S. It's nice to talk to someone that has experienced it, who has went through it, and didn't really know any better until he moved here to the United States and saw the freedoms that we have, or we currently have, and we hope to retain and keep through no matter what. If you guys kind of get what I'm saying, I don't want to go too far with that. And where in Alaska? I'm heading back to Alaska in December. B Charming, he lives probably, I don't know, a few miles away from Rudy, if that helps, B. And no problem, Chief. So it's interesting. It's interesting to see how communism, living in communism, and the things that he experienced, and how we see some of that evolving here in the U.S., even within our government, our military, some of the people that advocate it in our school systems, indoctrination of children, the attack on religion over, the whole time, the health crisis. We saw that transpire a lot. We've seen a lot of scary similarities that's coming right out of the book of Marxism and communism. So it's intriguing to talk to someone who lived it and his experiences. And if you've, Rudy said something a while back on his channel when he was talking about the black market and how people have given the black market a bad name in the aspect, but it's one of the freest markets that are created. Now, there's some people are going to say, well, there's a lot of bad things that could be in there, but originally generated, the black market was more so for people that couldn't get what they needed in the aspect of the powers that be, if that makes any sense, without trying to go into too great detail. And maybe I'll do some research on the topic of the black market and how it evolved and what it entails, and bring that to light and do a discussion on that if you guys would like to hear some stuff like that. And I want to apologize. Some of you folks might see that, Raquel. YouTube is hitting that pretty hard, that term. They are banning channels for using that term. And yes, I know, you see the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and everything behind me. I wholeheartedly believe in our First Amendment and stuff like that. But to preserve the channel and its integrity, so we don't lose this platform, we have to be careful of things I say. And I see Billy's down there. I'll bring you back up, Billy.
Sorry, guys. We have issues, I guess.
It's always at this time of night, too. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. I'm good at filler information. You know what I mean? To touch on what you guys were talking about, and to fill in some of the people that have come in a little bit, and whatnot.
Gotcha.
Because even on this platform, before we continue, some folks are scared about stuff, or not scared, are concerned because there's only certain things that we can say on YouTube, and every time we turn around, YouTube doesn't like some of the things that we say, so they will affect Some people might use YouTube for a livelihood, and if you say certain things, it'll take the channel down. So we have to be careful with that. So I do apologize. It's not me. It's not my personal beliefs. Like I said, I believe in our Constitution and our forefathers and the blood that was spilled for this country. So just let you guys know that. So I do apologize that we just have to be careful sometimes. And that's why the mods, will do the things that they do. All right, go ahead, Billy. Sorry.
It's so good. As I was saying before, the internet went out. There's no religion freedom in Cuba. The Catholic Church is there because, well, those churches that survived was because of people actually were up in arms, if you will, and well, the government decided that to just let it be there. We're not going to touch it, but we're not going to help you. And you know that they're turning a blind eye sometimes, and I say sometimes because scars that I have in my body are mainly because of that reason. But more than one, I got beat up by law enforcement because of my religious beliefs, and that's the thing. You're not free to practice anything. You're free to practice whatever they tell you to practice.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, you're nothing more than a cattle to them. You're there to work. That's pretty much it. You're there to work and to do whatever they tell you to do. That's it.
That's crazy. And it's like I was saying to the folks in chat, it's a scary, some of the scary similarities that we see here transpiring in the U.S. that are slowly falling in that direction. People use references like Venezuela a lot, but sometimes we need to look at some of these countries like Cuba, because Cuba's right there. It's 90 miles away from the coast of Florida. It's right there on the border. Crazy stuff.
It is 90 miles away, and I have to say this. The Cuban people are hardworking people. Miami is Miami because Cubans. Because I remember my dad saying Miami was a little small town, like little thing. We made Miami be what Miami is today. So we do take pride in a lot of things that we do. We did came to this country, and we do love this country. Most of us are not born here, but we love this country because this country opened the doors when ours kick us out. So,
agreed. It's oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, for me, it's hard as the daughter of somebody who came from that, and now being married to Billy and hearing all his stories too, to hear people be like, "Oh, this is not Cuba. It'll never happen here." This was just a few years ago that somebody said that to me. So now going through all of this and seeing how everything's changing, it's just so nerve-wracking to me. And you're sitting there screaming like, "Hello, do you not see what's happening?" And they're still blind as can be. So
yeah, I often ask Mom, what is the psychology behind this? How can people be so blind? And I mentioned this before. Dee is actually a mental health counselor, and oftentimes she's like, Billy, people see what they want to see. And no matter how much truth you put in front of them, they will see what they want to see. And if they are comfortable in their little bubble, they don't want to get out of that bubble. And I have to tell you, the way that the country's going, that bubble is going to burst. And there's going to be a lot of hurting. And a lot of people are going to be regretting a lot of decisions that they actually made.
I concur, man. People need to dig into history and pay attention to history of other countries and stuff like that. I'm trying to watch what I say and how I say it. But some of the folks that think that they're doing the right thing, and I don't mean the conservative party or not like that. I mean the folks that think all this stuff that's going on is great, and they don't understand. They'll be the first ones that'll be oppressed, if that makes any sense. I don't want to talk about if you've ever heard of a country named Germany and how the folks and stuff, how that all played out. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to kind of get at. But those were the first folks to go. because they were a threat to the government.
Mm-hmm. And that whole, I can tell you a story. In Cuba, when you get stopped, if you don't have your papers with you, you get a citation. If they know you because they have that with you, well, guess what? You go to jail. Let's figure it out later. Due process doesn't exist. And we've seen a lot of that here nowadays for some reason. Due process is being ignored by new legislations that are being passed, mainly with the Second Amendment. I don't know. I'm trying to use words. You know, that little thing that is red.
Right on.
Yeah. So, you know, they want to erode your rights because the Constitution is there to protect you. They're not there. It's not there to protect them. It's there to limit their power, and they like power. So that's what they do, and they eroding day by day. And if we allow them to do it or continue to do it, we're going to be in serious trouble, very serious trouble. And I said before, I lost one country already. I will not lose another one. I will do whatever have to be done because it's a sad thing to lose two countries in a lifetime. Very sad.
I agree. And it's funny. People ask me in the past, what brought me to be a a conservative person, and I said my family, and then I explained the whole Cuban connection, and I said that's the reason why there's a lot of people who consider them conservatives that are Cuban. Also, there's a huge population of Vietnamese folks that also believe in that are conservative because of the fact where they escaped communism for their country as well.
Yeah.
It's a lesson to be learned. There's a lot of folks that they take our freedoms for granted, here in the U.S. They're born with it. They've grown up with it, especially the younger generation. They don't understand it. They just think this is normal life. And they don't understand when certain things change and why we as adults get upset about it, because it's like they take an inch or they give an inch, but they take a mile. Or is that how it goes? That little old saying? But,
Yeah.
and they're slowly eroding away at these documents behind me.
You give them a finger and they take the whole arm.
Yeah, exactly. And Northern Girl, I did watch that video. That was pretty intriguing, to say the least, of what's happening in Canada and what we saw in Australia and some of the other countries as well. Jackie Perez says, I had a friend was jailed 2 years in Cuba until he was released due to no evidence. So he sat there for 2 years.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, and here's something that is hilarious and sad at the same time. If you look at a government official in the wrong way, and he or she don't like you, he or she can make a case against you, and your word is worth nothing because they have power over you, just because their political affiliation. That's just the way it is in Cuba. Mm-hmm. So you can't say things like abajo Fidel, like down the Castros. You can't say that. They will put you in jail.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a protest in Cuba, Billy?
I'm sorry?
Have you ever seen a protest in Cuba?
I saw the videos. And I thought something good was going to happen. In fact, her dad actually called me, and he's like, Billy, got to tell you something. Or the boomsticks you left behind, they have been confiscated. And I said, oh, you're going to Cuba? He's like, maybe. I was like, well, you call me, and I will be flying over there. And I'll be calling everybody that I know over there.
And before this past July, I don't think I had ever seen a real protest in Cuba. All the other protests that you've seen or any other videos you've seen of that, those are orchestrated by the government.
Yeah.
They make you go.
A lot of times, and this is something that a lot of people don't know, when you see people go into the streets. We are with Castro. We are with the revolution. We are in favor of all of this. You know what they do? They go to the work and they're like, all right, you're going to get paid the whole day, but you got to go 1 hour and walk the street screaming your lungs out that you are a socialist and you love this country and then you love the Castro regime. And a lot of people, well, they have to do it.
Yeah.
Because if they lose their job, there goes their livelihood. So, and another similarity, what we see in nowadays.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. They go out, they're like, oh, Viva la Revolución, and all of those things that people are like, oh, wow, communism is so awesome.
They make it seem like the community is in support of it all, and that's not the reality.
No, it's not the reality. I have yet to meet one Cuban. Well, that's not true. I met one or two who are actually in favor of socialism. Everybody else is like, oh my God, I came way into the pass away.
I've seen people that are definitely, in support of it, or people that they are in support of it because that's how they live. But at the nitty gritty of it, they're against it.
Yeah,
that's just how they learn to survive and live through it.
Yeah, someone says it sounds like North Korea. Yeah, similarity, very similar. North Korea, Russia, China, Vietnam. There's a lot of different places that either are the same or worse than Cuba. You know what I mean? This is just one example of communism in action.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking of something I was going to say, and I got lost in chat because I do that all the time. I'm just sitting there reading, trying to keep an eye on things here. And I can't remember what was I going to say. Oh boy. Oh, speaking of which, if you guys do have any questions, because we're already over an hour, if you guys have any questions you guys would like to ask Billy or Dee, please put them in all caps and let me know if you have the questions, because we'll eventually wrap it up, because I know I got to be up working early, and we've had a pretty good turnout. There's been over 140 people hanging out here with us at times, so that's
awesome.
Pretty cool. Arkansas Prepper Network, thank you so much for the support and the super chat. I just want to thank Frontier Preppers for supporting the land of the free and being a patriot for our country he wasn't born to. That is heroic in this day and age. I agree.
And I want to say that maybe I wasn't born here, but my wife was born here and my son is born here. So this is my country no matter what.
And I just saw something, and Hawkeye, it's funny. I think he might be going to jail. I just saw an article written that he might be getting arrested. They're talking about the mayor of New York City, de Blasio, for inappropriate touching people. His own people, his own folks have turned on him, which is what they do well up in Washington.
Yes.
Survival of the fittest happens up there as well. Let me see here. Yes, 8. So I came on, so I can at least let us going around your town. And have a good night, Dennis. Our Minuteman 69 now. D14 says, I was born in Canada, but my heart yearns for America. Cuomo, yeah, that's right. Sorry, Hawkeye, I made the mistake. Yeah, I just don't live in New York, so I get de Blasio and Cuomo. They're both, woohoo. But yeah, you're right. Cuomo is the one being arrested. Yeah, my apologies. Jackie Perez says, Billy, can you explain how the committee on each corner keeps tabs on people?
Yeah, by talking. They go around houses saying good morning, and they're having a normal conversation. And believe it or not, they're keeping mental notes. When they get back home, they're like, hey, such and such told me this. And they go around the block pretty much every day saying hi and, being polite and whatnot.
Like the friendly neighbor.
The very friendly neighbor. And that's the way that they gather information in a normal conversation. We all talk. We all have a conversation, and sometimes during a conversation, we might say, "Oh my God, the meal that I had last night was so good." Well, that opens the door. Well, oh, really? What do you have? Well, I have this soup, and oh, really? Oh, it probably was meat, right? Because we haven't had meat in a long time. And then you have a conversation and you drop your guard. And the moment you said, yeah, it was beef, she reports that to the police station. And the police will come knocking on your door. What do you mean you had soup with beef? We haven't given beef. Did you kill the cow? Did you buy it? Did you buy that beef on the black market? Let me see your refrigerator. And they will go in your house and search your house. There's no such thing as search warrants in Cuba. And if they see something suspicious, like you have a bag of rice or something that you purchase on the black market, well, you're not allowed to have that. They take it, and you have no saying. So now you lost your money and you lost your supply. So most of the time, when those people, the snitches, come around and you talk and whatnot, hi, good morning, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing good, thank you. Keep on going. They don't engage in conversation, but you know how people are, especially Cubans. Cubans are very friendly, and Cubans talk a lot,
But eventually,
especially some.
no, I mean, eventually the people pick up on who's a snitch and who's not, and they know the boundaries to keep. So, but yeah, they'll pretend to be friendly and nice and like they care, and they're just gonna snitch whatever you tell them.
And they're not always the same people.
No.
So you always got to be mindful, because they have the CDR, but sometimes there are other people in your neighborhood that actually go there to the snitches and like, oh, you heard about such and such? Such and such has a little pig in their backyard. Oh my God, the smell. Have you smelled that? Well, police station, and they come and confiscate your little pig that you have been raising since that little pig was 45 days old. Because you want to have a nice Christmas. Well, the snitch gets a piece of meat, and the snitch gets a little smaller piece of meat to the other one who actually provided the information. So,
and it could be men, it could be women, it could be young teenagers that are doing this. You don't ever know who it is or who it could be. So,
yeah, no, I saw that, Arkansas, but we could still hear him, so that was a plus. Your screen froze for a second, but the voice was clear as day, though.
We are far away. We are 7,000 miles away. So I call this success.
Our poor little internet struggling.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I see Rudy go through it all the time, man, when he's doing his live streams, and people are like, man, you're looking blurry. I'm like, hey, man, this is all I can do,
That's it. That's all we have.
But and that's why I think your story is very intriguing, man, because you've seen it, you've lived it, and now you see the things that are transpiring here in the U.S. and it's a scary fact, man. I honestly think it's scary. From the stories that from like people like yourself, my grandfather, my uncles, and other family members that lived through some of that. It's a scary thing, man.
It is, and it's very scary that people are not open their eyes, and even on a daily basis when I talk to people, I try to tell them my story so they understand why I think the way I think, and why I told them all the time, please fight for your freedoms, no matter what spectrum you are, no matter whether you're right, left, I don't care. Just remain with your freedoms. Do not give your freedoms away, because once you give them away, you ain't gonna get it back, because they're not gonna give it back to you. And that's what I saw in Cuba.
Yeah, that's one thing that I always tell people as well. It's like I said, if you give up one freedom, and I think this last year and a half, almost 2 years now, has been a test to that. You give up a few freedoms, you don't get them back, and they're going to keep on pushing that. It's So you do have to fight. And a lot of people say, well, what do we do? We can't. People are like, well, what? I've seen. I don't want to say what people have said to do, because believe it or not, how you look at it, the government is a very powerful entity in any country, and it takes a lot of things to transpire before things get to the point where there's no return. I'm trying to say it in the best way I can without, revolution,
Yeah. My best advice to people is always be prepared. Think of a government like a big machine. If you throw a wrench on a big machine, they're going to stall. So if we're not there to do the grunt work, they can't collect taxes. They can't do anything. But in order for us to take a stand and say enough, well, we need to have preps. We need to have a little nest put away for rainy days. And it might become a day that nest is all what we're going to have because we're
Right.
being pushed to the extreme.
I think the first thing too is to realize that we have that power. People don't think that we do, but we do.
Right.
You're starting to see it with what happened with the airlines and things like that. So slowly but surely, I think people will start to realize that. Hopefully.
Yeah, I just want everybody to remember we are millions. They are a few. So.
And I saw something here. I don't know what you meant. 3-basket living, you said, but who do you claim to receive your freedoms? It's our God-given freedoms. That's who I claim. Hopefully, it makes sense. You have to look at our Constitution and why it was written. The government didn't give us these freedoms. That's just what I believe in. So if I offended anybody, I do apologize, but that's just how it is. And a lot of other folks are popped in. Milo, thank you so much for the super chat, brother. I served. I saw what happened. At my age, we'll still fight back. I agreed. And I feel a lot of folks will. If it comes down to that, I think and the worst case scenario is we don't really want that. A lot of people, just imagine the death that would come with something like that. It was to happen. You know what I mean? Some people that you love and care for dearly. If you look at our history with the Civil War, brothers versus brothers, it was some crazy stuff.
Yeah. That always should be the last thing that we should consider. I have seen friends pass away, and it's not something that you wanna see. It weighs heavy on your soul.
Yeah, I don't understand. I'm confused by something. Anyways, other than that, folks, do you guys have any final questions? We've been going for a while, folks. And I know I'm getting tired myself. I got to get up early in the morning for work, and I see a lot of some of you folks have been saying good night. So I do understand that. But hopefully, I mean, if you guys enjoyed this, go ahead and smash that button. You know what I mean? That's why I've been struggling to get Billy and Dee on here for quite some time. But they work a lot, they have lives, and that's why we had to do it on a Thursday night because it worked out well. And like I said, I have their link in the description on my down in the description to their channel. I have a link on my community tab to their channel as well. So if you guys want to, hear more from Billy and Dee and their life in Alaska and some of their live streams, which can get very intriguing, check them out. I think they're a great channel personally. That's my opinion.
Plus, we drink a lot of café with that.
Yeah. I'm almost empty too. So that's what I'm like looking at that like, eh. But Billy and Dee, do you guys have any last things that you guys want to add?
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us, and we want to encourage everybody to be prepared. Prepping it should not be seen as a negative. It's your savings. Look at it as your saving account. If you have a problem, you can rely on it and be self-sufficient as much as you can. I know we all cannot be self-sufficient, but if you can, thrive for it. It will pay dividends in the long run.
Agreed. All right, folks, this is the last stream of October for me. Yeah, October is done and end. We have Saturday. You guys know I take the last couple of days off. I take Fridays and Saturdays off for work and family. And I will be back on YouTube Sunday for the Sunday Shift Report, which people seem to really enjoy. I get a little bit more wild in there. And then we'll get back to our regularly scheduled stuff. Jam at the Net House, thank you for the super chat. Always appreciate your support. Thank you for the insight. Frontier Preppers Cuban sandwich video. Oh, that's right.
I got to work on that one.
Oh, love that.
Has a big issue. When I make bread, the bread never makes it to the sandwich.
No.
Somebody loves eating bread, out of the oven with butter. And yeah.
I'll try, guys. I'll try.
That would be awesome. Let me see here. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Everybody's kind of saying thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all for your time.
And like I said, from me to you folks, I want to say thank you guys so much. You guys have been a phenomenal group in here. I know sometimes we got to watch ourselves, but it is what it is on the platform. But I want to say thank you for everyone that joined us this evening, and truly appreciate you guys interacting. Look forward to seeing you guys in down the road in some more streams, and maybe I'll get Billy and Dee. Maybe we'll do. Rudy doesn't like to do panels, but maybe we'll get us all on at one time and do something. Man, that'd be fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But other than that, man, I just want to say again, thank you, mods. You guys did a phenomenal job. Truly appreciate you guys and the job that you do. You guys are the unsung heroes of YouTube. At least that's how I look at it.
Yep.
Other than that, this is GreyMan. I'm out. I'll see you guys in a rebound. God bless and have a good evening.
Guys. Take care.